The match result may have been a foregone conclusion, but this was horrible. I'm startled that they didn't learn anything from the last outrage. I wish they had never made Pokemon Journeys to begin with if it was going to lead to such an uninteresting and inflammatory Masters 8 tournament. The beehive has been kicked and the stingers are stinging, so let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Charles. How are you today? Boy oh boy has Pokemon Journeys episode 122 kicked up quite the commotion. Titled Semifinal 1 Overwhelming Victory, the episode was marketed as a story centered on the first 6 vs 6 clash of the World Coronation Series Masters 8 semifinals, that is, Leon vs Diantha. And given that the episode was subtitled Semifinal 1 Overwhelming Victory, it was clear as crystal that the battle was not going to start or end well for Diantha. But given just how badly Leon sacked the other Kalos competitor and fan favorite character Alan in the tournament's opening round, fans were hoping to see the full-fledged Kalos champion give the #1 man in the world a run for his money at the very least. And, well, holy ravioli did the production team succeed at inciting near unanimous rage from both the English and Japanese-speaking Pokemon communities. As instead of digging into a fiery hot clash of champions, most of the episode's screen time was consumed by a plotline involving 2 totally random kids, and the 7 odd minutes of the Leon vs Diantha bout shown at the end of the episode was a 6v6 in name only that was really little more than a 1.5 versus 1.5. It may have been an overwhelming victory, but it was an overwhelming victory that largely took place off screen. And I don't think I have ever seen fans so consistently infuriated over a given show. As someone who generally enjoys even the anime's weaker episodes on account of their world building or little Easter eggs, I have to admit that even I was caught off guard by where they went with this one. And admittedly, I was initially pretty rattled. So I took a walk, I slept on it, and I watched the episode again in the morning with a clear mind. After which I can say that 1, the episode actually has a number of good qualities that will sadly be overshadowed by the outrage, but 2, yes, some mounting issues in Pokemon Journeys have finally come to a head. And 3, the blatant bait and switch alone was clearly going to trigger fans. And I think it's all worth talking about, so today's plan is to unpack the good, the bad, and the triggering points of episode 122. And given that you can go out there and read what other English-speaking fans are saying easily enough, I'll be translating tweets from the Japanese fandom as we go to bring another angle to the discussion. With that said, as always, it is going to be a good old time, so kindly Gmax Wildfire that like button for the YouTube algorithm, breathe in some fresh air, smile, and let's bust out the juicy nuggets. Here are a few positive remarks to break down before we crack open Pandora's box. Firstly, childhood Cynthia was so adorable that I wanted to take her home. I liked seeing Cynthia as a child as she was cute and also seemed to have osteopathic skills. And Diantha, on the other hand, I was satisfied to see Gardevoir's efforts. I want to smell Miss Cynthia. As suggested by these Twitter citizens, the flashback of Cynthia taking care of and hatching her Garchomp's egg way back in her childhood was sweeter than a bag of Snickers. I've always wanted to learn more about Cynthia's backstory, so this really was one of the episode's highlights for me. I just wish it was longer and went into her backstory in a little bit more detail, because this bit was a lot shorter than I expected. And regarding the Gardevoir love, if you caught my Leon-focused video, then you will know that Diantha's Gardevoir put up a truly valiant fight against Leon's Charizard, even managing to hijack control of Charizard's own Gmax Wildfire to briefly put Leon on his back foot, as if the internet needed another reason to love Big G. I should also mention that it was satisfying to see Ash and Cynthia interact at length for the first time in a while. The missing kid plotline that consumed the midsection of the episode was pretty good if you consider it as a standalone piece, and apparently, Cynthia has very strong fingers. But with that said, let's get to the bad. We did not need the Lost Kids story beat. My first grade son is furious that the match between Leon and Diantha was cut short. If they were only going to show 2 Pokemon battling, then they should have only made the final a full battle. I just don't get how they can call this a Masters tournament when they don't even show the battles. My second grade son said, "That was an awful battle. Personally, I would have liked to see the full match, as the portion that actually aired wasn't bad. Basically, a hotly anticipated battle was cut short for a missing kid plotline that nobody asked for, and people were not pleased about that. And that is kind of sad, because if you actually approach this episode as a slice of life episode, then it's pretty enjoyable. Accordingly, I think that it was the expectation mismatch set up by the show's writers and promoters that was what truly ruined the episode for so many viewers, as they marketed the episode primarily as the opening stretch of an epic semi-final arc, and secondly as a glimpse into Cynthia's past. But both of these elements ended up taking a backseat to two random NPCs that we may never see again. And if the episode was simply titled Missing Kid in the Forest Gossifleur Evolves instead of Semi-Final 1, it probably would have been reasonably well received. Instead, it was a blatant bait and switch that brought viewers to the episode promising an $80 steak but served them Fruit Loops without the milk once they were seated. So I can understand why so many people were pissed off, because Fruit Loops just aren't the same without milk. Anyways, many fans have likened the episode's Ash and friends need to find someone who got lost in a forest in the middle of a tournament shtick to the 105th episode of Black and White, wherein Iris's Axew wandered off during the Unova League, necessitating a somewhat awkwardly placed search and rescue mission. But I don't think that particular reference does this situation justice, as in that case, Ash's battle that kicks off at the end of the episode actually extends into episode 106, wherein we are treated to a solid 15-minute 3 versus 3 battle. And watching Stefan suck down that fat L was quite the treat. In Pokémon Journeys episode 122, on the other hand, after viewers are left feeling confused about what is even happening for the first 15 minutes or so of the episode, the 7-minute 6 versus 6 battle tacked on at the very end amounts to little more than a 6-second montage of still frames, a 1-for-1 exchange in which Leon's Rillaboom tanks an attack and knocks out Goodra, and a fairly sweet but all too short Ace versus Ace finale. It was a fairly anemic battle to say the least. And unfortunately, it is also disrupting fan perceptions of Leon as well as the show's power balance. I loved Leon's fiery battles in Sword and Shield and Twilight Wings, wherein he would have spectators in a daze. It pains me so much to see him in these uninteresting battles. This battle was shocking. I don't get why they want to put out stories that are going to trigger outrage. It's crazy seeing Leon become more and more hated with every appearance. If you've come this far, please just have him finish the finals with 2 Pokemon or something, as if the match with Ash is a tight one, then the power balance will be too screwed up. Whether Cynthia wins or Ash wins the semi-final, they can't beat Leon, can they? As someone who has enjoyed Leon's presence in the games, in Twilight Wings, in Evolutions, and yes, even in the main series anime for the most part, I hate seeing the guy set up as a heel to this degree. But basically, he is a slow-rolling Tobias at this point, the difference between the Purple Panther and the Game Shark Man simply being that the Masters 8 opener and semi-final are giving us a few months advance warning of the freight train that is about to smash into Ash's dreams. That is to say that the writers have made Leon look unbeatable, but not in a particularly convincing way, thanks to what must look like the nerfing of the Kalos crew in the eyes of XY fans, and inconsistencies in the strength of his own Pokemon. For instance, Rillaboom, the Pokemon that struggled to take down Alan's Chestnut and got insta-cratered by Alan's Charizard, but somehow managed to steamroll not 1, but 4 of Diantha's Pokemon. If we were actually shown the entirety of his battles, we may have seen Leon leading him to victory by way of some truly brilliant tactics that completely outclassed Diantha and left the crowds in awe. This would have made the sweep believable, and Leon would have looked truly impressive by his own merits. But without any insights whatsoever into how Rillaboom handily swept Diantha's team, 3 of whom can hit it for weakness, we can only suck down the single frame shots of the green monkey dropping 3 champion class Pokemon like flies, then wizarding away the damage from Goodra's front-on Fire Blast, and retaliating to snag a 4th knockout. This makes the power scale look like a blob of jelly that can be remade at will, and while Leon may very well be the most powerful trainer in the tournament by a long shot, and we have seen flashes of his brilliance, they really do need to have him show more of his work, or people are simply not going to buy it. As it is, he looks comically overpowered, and it is tough to imagine Ash pushing him past his 3rd or 4th Pokemon. So better pack your snuggest pair of plot panties, Ashy boy. At the end of the day, I hate to see an episode that does have many good things going on for it get engulfed in flames, but from the bait and switch to the Rillaboom fiasco, I totally understand the outrage. And I think it is safe to say that this episode certainly would have been better off if it were simply split into 2 separate episodes, leaving us with the question, why did they do this? Who knows, maybe someone really did think it was a genius idea to market this episode as a Masters 8 semi-final showdown to lure fans into an entertaining but not so glamorous story about kids wandering the woods looking at gossiflers that is, for some reason, set in the middle of the biggest tournament in the anime's history. And regarding Leon's commanding victory, I do get the sense that they just want to keep his other team members a mystery and maybe, just maybe, are overlooking how absurd the Rillaboom racket looks to viewers. But speaking to the episode in its entirety and considering that it was already preceded by 2 very, very low-budget recap episodes, one has to think that what we are seeing must be the result of very tight budget constraints. Looking from the outside, it looks as if the production of Pokemon Journeys has been somewhat turbulent for years now, certainly on account of the Corsola measles outbreak, but perhaps also due to multiple high-level staff shakeups. And who knows about how these situations and others might have blown up the budget. We may never know the full story about what is going on with these episodes, but I do like to give the writers and the animators the benefit of the doubt that they are just doing what they think is best with very limited resources. And on a positive note, we are now all set for a 3-part Ash vs Cynthia bout. And if we thereafter get a 3 to 4 part Ash vs Leon Cruncher, that would be fantastic. So I think that the series can still end on a strong note, even if many fans are upset with how the Masters 8 tournament has been handled thus far. But how about you? Well, get the outrage, but don't let the outrage get you. Be sure to get out there and enjoy some fresh air, take a walk with the fam or the friends, subscribe right now for more baby goat images, and have yourself a dandy.